Why is Elon leaving Doge? Everyone says there could be infighting. That's what the mainstream media wants to tell you. Now we're going to talk about what really and why he is leaving Doge. And is it a big deal or not? We'll discuss that. Also, we're going to talk about a brink of collapse. The WHO just came out with a new report. Because we decided to quit funding, what it shows is WHO was taking taxpayer dollars from the U.S. to implement policies globally. Because what happened is when we stopped the funding, we all realized that WHO was not funded by anyone else but America. This shows again the crazy things about what the U.S. taxpayers are paying for. It's not just America's waste, it's the global waste. Unbelievable. We'll discuss that story. Also, we're going to discuss the Senate. What are they doing? Just like yesterday's video about Congress not acting. Well, if Trump puts tariffs on everyone, guess what? 4 Republicans, which Rand Paul's one of them, which again, he's voting on the Libertarians, a little bit different than the other 3, but they vote with the Democrat to take the tariffs away. So Trump sets tariffs to negotiate, and the Senate takes them away. Does that really make you feel better? And guess what? You won't believe what they want to pass in the budget this next year. These people are working against you. Please quit voting them into power. Because they don't want to cut the budget. They don't want to save you money. They want to destroy your money because I've got a story for you. You're never going to believe what they want to raise the budget to. It is mind-blowing. And that's why I don't blame Elon for leaving Doge. Let's dive into these stories and a few more. This video starts right now. Hey guys, welcome to the Max. Thank you so very much for being here today. If you are new, we humbly thank you, of course. But if you like the content, please go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell, give us a thumbs up. It means the world to us. And hey, we thank you so very much. Remember, we do a giveaway each and every month. We gave something away yesterday, and we'll be giving something away for April. So make sure you are subscribed, you're commenting, and you're giving us a thumbs up, because that way we can put you in the drawing for each time that you give us a thumbs up, comment, and make sure you're subscribed, of course. Okay, let's jump into today's video. Now, Elon is leaving Doge. Why is he leaving Doge? Is there infighting? Is there problems? Do we feel like we're not getting anywhere? Well, truth be told, I don't believe we're actually getting anywhere, because I believe they're bringing all these reports up, but because of the partisan politics and the hacks in our Congress and Senate, nothing has actually been agreed upon through the Senate Congress. They are lying to you. They're lying to your faces. They're not doing anything for you. Proof we'll talk about in just a second. But let's go through the story, because this hit the news and everybody said, well, Trump and Elon must be fighting. No, let's talk about it. The scoop is garbage, Caroline Leavitt said. Elon Musk and the president have both publicly stated that Elon was supposed to be a public service for only a time, and he was going to do incredible work for Doge, and then he was going to step out. And this goes back to another report that says, remember, the inner circle already knew that he was stepping out. I think his tenure was around 120 to 130 days. It says Elon Musk even stated to Fox News last month that his 130-day tenure will be all that he serves on, because he sets the policy, he sets Doge up, and then pretty much he is not needed. Remember, he is not a paid employee. Also, he is a multi-billionaire that has several other businesses that needs his attention. So all he's doing is saying, look, I'm not stepping away, saying that I'm not going to be active in trying to make sure that freedom and liberty is put out there. However, I'm not going to be aggressively working with Doge. We've set it up, we've established it, now it's time for them to actually do the work. Now, here's my kickback and my problem with this. I think we're going to see politics as usual. I don't think we're going to see any changes in what has been done. Even though I think we're going to do great things, I think the executive branch is doing great things, but just like the Senate story I'm fixing to get into, I think what we're seeing is no matter what the president does between the judiciary and the legislative branch, they will basically stop everything they can. They're going to keep doing status quo. We have judges who are not getting impeached, who can do whatever they want and be activist judges, and no one's stopping them. Mike Johnson's not stopping them. They just took a recess and break for the week, worked a day and a half to pass one bill that actually was against Republicans, who is wanting people to stay at home and work as congressmen. Now they want you back at work, and that's what they preached on forever, but now they're like, hey, please give us an opt-out policy. Isn't it amazing how Congress works? They screw you by making sure they take care of themselves. Now, that brings up the next point. No matter what Elon does, no matter what Trump does with executive orders, not one of those things have been codified. Let's talk about what the Senate just did. It proves my point, how you cannot trust these people. The U.S. Senate passes measures to terminate Trump's tariffs on Canada. Now, you would think, well, if he's the president, we voted for him, his policies are what we want, the Senate's not really got a good approval, but for some reason they keep setting policy and doing what they want to do, kind of like the activist judges. So what we've seen is the deep state is deeper than you could even imagine. The people that signed up with him, of course, Lisa Murkowski, Mitch McConnell, and Susan Collins. Now, the one that put him over this time was Rand Paul. Now, Rand Paul did not agree with the other three in the reasonings. Rand Paul just wants free trade because he's a libertarian. Now, do I fault Rand Paul at that? No, I understand his concession. The other three, they're literally trying to vote against President Trump because they hate him. And they're liberals, of course. They vote for the Democrats. Do I wish Rand Paul would not have, picked this hill to die on? For sure. But what we're seeing now is a complete defiance of the executive order that Trump has been wanting. Now, not only did we literally have negotiations going with these tariffs that we just lost. So basically, they overstepped the president. So that means, here, I want to make sure we understand this. The president was voted upon, and the judiciary has stopped policies and did what they wanted to do, and activist judges, district judges, stopped the president of the United States. They were never elected to office. They were appointed, and they stopped the president of the United States. Then we have Congress, who is elected by their districts and representation of their constituents. But are they truly representing their constituents when they vote against what the president stated? Now, I just want you to think about that for a second now. So the president actually is not the most powerful man, even though we say he is. It is the bureaucracy behind the DC machine. That is who has power. When it comes to the Johnsons, the Thunes, the McConnells, those are the ones that actually hold the power. Because the executive orders that Trump has done, not one has been wrote into law. Not one. So are they actually standing up for what Trump wants? Doge's recommendations on saving people money and cutting the waste, fraud, and abuse, not one has went to prison for it, for the fraud. Not one of these waste, fraud, and abuse situations has been wrote in law to change it. Congress keeps funding it. When the Department of Education was cut, Congress still funded it. They did not defund the Department of Education. They funded it fully. So who are they actually benefiting? Themselves more than they are Trump and his agenda. Listen to this, and this shouldn't surprise you because these people are con artists. But listen to this. I want you to understand what I'm going to say to you. U.S. Senate budget. Now, remember, you heard these Republicans, you heard these conservatives, you even heard some of the Democrats talking about how we should balance the budget. Do better. Do better. Bill Clinton was the first one that started. Obama's the one that actually set up Doge. It was not called Doge, but it was for the same situations, and not one person has done it other than Trump. All of a sudden, we see hundreds of billions of dollars of waste. We got to find $2 trillion, remember, just to balance the budget. Now listen to what your Senate just did. Your Congress just went home on recess after 2 days of work. Listen to what your Senate just did. U.S. Senate budget calls for the increase in $5 trillion to the U.S. debt ceiling. It also includes another military spending increase of $150 over the next decade. Now that's two things that were not talked about. Trump didn't push, but your Senate has, because they have coffers, because they have lobbyists, they have people behind them. $5 trillion they want to add to the U.S. debt ceiling. So are they actually trying to cut your budget? Are they actually trying to save you money? No, they're going to do just what they always do and just rub it in your face and act like they're working for you and actually do something totally different. It is insanity that we keep electing these people in office. Insanity. Pure insanity. If you're electing someone that's been in office more than 1 or 2 terms, then you are getting tarnished. Your state is not getting any benefits. They're going to keep on floating a little bit of money to you, a little grant money for Mississippi or for Arkansas or for Alabama or whatever state they're in. But ultimately, they're taking advantage of your tax dollars because your tax dollars are not working for you. They're working for them. You just happen to get a little bit of it. So they stipend your money back while taking 40%. So you may get a new library or a new football field. And they'll name it after that senator, and he's like, oh, I've done so much for you. And the whole time, you're the one that just got ripped off, and your taxation went to way more than just that library or that football field. You don't believe that's happening? It's happening in every state. These Senate are not working for you. They're working for themselves and for the lobbyists that are paying them. That's why I said the bureaucracy is too big. Trump's trying to cut the budget. They fully funded the budget through that stopgap measure. They talked about a clean CR. It's not clean CR when they're spending more money than we have. And all of a sudden now the Senate wants to raise your debt ceiling another $5 trillion. Does that sound like they're actually doing what Doge says? So honestly, that's why I believe Elon is doing what he said he was going to do. But honestly, I honestly believe Trump and Elon are businessmen, and they honestly see that they will not be able to do anything. They'll be able to do parts of it, but they're not going to get much accomplished with this Senate and this Congress and these activist judges. Mike Johnson could shut every one of these judges down. John Thune could make sure everything gets passed and codified through the Senate. But they will not do it because they are not, even though they want to act like they're at the behest of the president, they're at the behest of the people behind them. They're puppets. Whew, boy, I got out of tangent there, didn't I? Kind of rant. So anyways, let's keep on going. WHO on the brink of financial collapse. So what we're proving here now, not only was taxation going to fund all this stuff in America that we shouldn't be funding people that were coming here illegally. Now we see that without America's funding to the WHO, so it means our taxpayer dollars were not only funding America, also illegals in America. Now we're realizing that we're funding the whole flipping world when it comes to the health organizations and the NGOs that's tied to people like Bill Gates and George Soros. Listen to this. WHO cannot make it without American funding. It says WHO is on the brink of financial collapse. A $2.5 billion hole is tearing through the WHO budget, even after desperate cuts. The timing couldn't be worse. America's exit is just around the corner, with Trump freezing the money, of course, the USAID, of $260 million of unpaid dues. The agency already is drowning in $600 million, meaning they can't balance their budget. That's why you always balance your budget, because when the money stops, you've got to be able to have some money. And why everything's cupcakes and rainbows now, that's what we always tell you. Don't live on debt, because at some point it's going to come calling for you, and you're going to be in a problem. That's exactly what's happening here. Now, if they were on a balanced budget initiative and they had money put up like they should have with the WHO, yes, it would have hurt them to lose America, but they could have made it until they found other funding from these European states that gets benefits from them, these African states that gets benefit from them, but not one of them are paying the money that we're paying. Without the taxpayer dollar of American citizens, the WHO cannot fund all this stuff across the world. That's a good thing, because our taxpayer dollars shouldn't be going to feed children in Ethiopia. I'm sorry. We should be helping on the church side and giving side and helping nonprofits in a way that doesn't involve government. It shouldn't be them stealing our money to send to places that we can't actually have inspector generals and money up and nowhere it's going. Just like Elon said, a lot of the money that we're having, $4.7 trillion, has left America's hands in the Treasury, and no one even knows where it went. $4.7 trillion. Isn't it funny how they want to raise the debt ceiling $5 trillion? It's weird how all of a sudden these numbers start really popping up, and you're saying, okay, you're taking more advantage of me, more advantage of me, more advantage of me. And what's going to happen is one day the Americans are not going to have any money, and we're going to see a global collapse because American dollar is faltering because your Congress and Senate keep spending like they own the place. Let's keep on going with this. WHO story says, now Tedros is warning that mass layoffs will be devastating and will cut life-saving programs. The fallout, potentially millions of lives on the line, is what he said. Now what it is he has overspent his money. He's taken too much advantage of America, spent more than we had. He spent more than he had, and now all of a sudden, they're on the brink of collapse. Now, do we want them not to help people? Hey, if people are really helping people, great, keep on doing it. But it does not take hundreds of billions of dollars of your taxpayer citizens, like people of America, to pay for the globe to fix their problems. It is not our job. I mean, look at what I just said. We have our own problems. We can't even have our president, who we elected to actually do the job, because Congress and the judiciary are literally tying his hands, and they're lying to you right to your face. They're lying to you right to your face and saying they're actually trying to work for the American people. No, they're not. I mean, just look at their votes. Look at their votes. They voted to stay home, work from home, and they voted basically to raise the debt ceiling. They've not codified anything that Trump has done or Doge has done. So they are lying to you. No matter how they try to spin it, they're lying to you. Now, one thing I want to mention, you notice the markets are going to go crazy. They really are. It may get tough. I want to throw this cliche out one more time because I think it's so threadbare. If I go on a diet and I work out, the time that I'm going through that to try to cut weight, to try to build muscle, it's going to be hard. But eventually we're going to come out in a better situation. What we saw was a list of tariffs that came out yesterday. And most of them will be renegotiated, and most of them will come off. One thing I thought that was very unique is that you hear all these people dog out Israel and about not being a good ally. They were the only country that cut their tariffs to America. 0. Even when we were still charging them. Now you heard Canada, Mexico, even Europe all say, well, if Trump cuts them out, I'll cut them out. Is that the good friend that we think they are? No, what they were saying is, look, we're going to stick it to you as long as you're sticking to us. And actually what we're not doing, we're not sticking it to them. It's just they've taken advantage of us for so long. Trump is trying to balance it out. And then, of course, your Senate just messed that up with Canada, so the negotiations off the table. So we'll keep on getting messed over by our neighbors up north. But I digress. The only country, now India backed theirs down a little bit, and there were some other countries that backed theirs down a little bit, but Israel was the only one that took their tariffs off America, even when America was still charging tariffs to them. To me, that shows what true friendship looks like. And I think that's a pretty good thing. But back to the fitness analogy. We're going to have to go through some tough times. If we don't voluntarily put ourselves in tough times in America, we will not be able to go through this debt without a crisis of one of epic proportions. Right now they're making so much false money, they're just being able to shade it over your eyes. But if Trump does not get his way and you let these legislative people keep spending your money that we don't have, you keep letting these judiciaries be activists, judges, and they keep doing what they want to do and make their own laws, you're going to see the fall of our country because our debt, we cannot keep kicking it down the road. I know you've heard that probably for 20 or 30 years. Oh, that's what they all say. Eventually it's going to come calling. What the WHO said. Well, we were in a hole $600 million. We had a shortfall of billions of dollars. And it's all because they spent money they didn't have, depending on money they were going to keep on getting. And all of a sudden it stopped. And they didn't have the mercy fund. They didn't have the extra balance. They didn't have the extra money. It's going to bankrupt them. That can happen to, the same thing can happen to America if we don't play our cards right. We need to balance our budget. We need to get better elected officials to actually break down all this stuff that we're paying for. It's ridiculous what we're doing. And our Congress, again, I cannot state for the record more, they are fibbing to you and telling you they're working for you because they're not, because they have not codified or agreed or wrote into law not one thing that Trump and Elon has done. Pay attention to who is representing you and who is not. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on today's video. I didn't mean to rant, but I can't stand the legislative branch. I think they're all just a joke, just like the 24-hour filibuster. That is about the most worthless thing. That was a guy self-bloviating, thinking that he was going to grandstand and look good for the press. He'll get a few talking points off of it. You know what that filibuster did last night? It was just like it's just like the Republicans doing hearings and writing harsh letters. It means nothing. And it's so stupid that we give him time of day to speak for 25 hours and bloviate for that long. And those people just sat there. Congress and Senate should be ashamed of themselves. They really should be. Guys, let me know your thoughts on the whole stories for the day. Thank you so very much for watching. We humbly thank you. God bless. Be free with me.